So, hello everyone, and welcome to an extra special behind-the-scenes episode of Homechoir. We're going today to prepare a track for you to sing in the autumn, and I'm going to take you through, well, what I do here in the studio when it comes to recording the Patchway Cathedral choir tracks. And we're going to do a bit of Purcell today, bit of dear old Henry P, something from his wonderful opera Dido and Aeneas. Now, of course, we have already looked at the In Our Deep Vault Ted Sell, and those of you in Choir of the Earth will have also sung the gorgeous last movement of this. So I thought we could look at something from, that was with Drooping Wings, of course. I thought we could look at something from the first act, which is short and lovely and moderately cheery and not too tricky. I thought we could look at, it's a tricky choice this. There's so many beautiful, beautiful choruses. Let's do the first chorus. Banish sorrow, banish care, grief should ne'er approach the fair. So what I'm going to do first of all is to record the organ part in. I've got the vocal part here, vocal score on my iPad. So we'll use organ to start with, though I might add in a bit of harpsichord. And harpsichord and organ is not generally done, but hey, I think we get away with it. So first of all, let's have a tempo. That's quite a nice tempo to record the organ part in, so let's give it a go. Okay, we'll move a little bit slower, I think, when it comes time to sing the real thing. And just because we can, let's add in a harpsichord part, just spread those chords out a bit so I can knock the organ back. It's not quite so overpowering. What I'm going to do actually is take the tune out, so I don't want the tune played at the top, and I'll do that in a minute with the organ. That's because I want it to accompany, not lead. So let's have it with the organ, the harpsichord part. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. Absolute mess. So I'm going to do that again. Here we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, now let's have a look at adding the vocal lines. Now, I am not particularly warmed up today, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this pretty quickly, which means I'm going to be relying more on my Melodyne software than on singing it right first time. And of course, I have the privilege of doing this because, well, this is something I've been doing for 3 years. And it does involve a fair bit of digital trickery afterwards, particularly the soprano part, but we'll get to that. We're going to start with the basses. Banish sorrow. Now, one thing I'm going to do, having played this all in at concert pitch, is I'm going to make life easy on myself, and I'm going to put it into Baroque pitch. In fact, I'm going to do something really sneaky, which actually I don't normally do, but I've decided to start doing as of this broadcast. I'm going to put the notes a tone down and then put them back up a semitone in a rather sneaky way. So I'm going to put this all a semitone below Baroque pitch. Okay, those of you with perfect pitch are going to find this really tricky, but you get used to it. So I'm going to make sure I can hear myself. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Banish sorrow, banish care. Now, I used to have, I'll just tell you, I used to have quite a big vibrato when I sang on recordings. And the problem with that is it's really hard to put that into tune later on and to use some of this lovely software. So I've decided, particularly with Baroque, which is it's entirely in keeping actually with the style, to sing with very little vibrato at all. So let's give it a go. This is the bass part. In fact, I'm going to put this a bar in for reasons that will become clear later on. So this is the bass part for Banish Sorrow. Here we go. From the top. Yeah, it helps if I select the vocal track, doesn't it? Thought I did. Anyway, let's try it again. Now, see, the problem is there, I'm just expecting a different word, and I sang Banish Sorrow, which would be Banish, Banish, again. Banish sorrow, banish care, grief should never pause Banish, 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 banish care, grief should never. Okay, not bad. Loud. Let's turn these all down. Okay, now the duplicate track. Actually, duplicate it 4 times. I'm now going to put that bass part over to one side, and I'm going to be the tenor now, and I'm going to just tweak the EQ so it just sounds like a slightly different voice. This is just a bit like moving people around on the stage, so that they're not standing all in front of each other. Likewise with the panning. So let's have the tenor part. Now in tenor voice. Banish sorrow, banish care, grief should never approach the fair. Something like that. Here we go. Banish sorrow, banish care, grief should never approach the fair. Banish sorrow, banish, 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 grief should never approach the fair. Grief should just going to do that last phrase again. Grief, not grief should never ignore what's on the score. One more time, singing what's on. I'm going to have to cut all this out. Finally. Okay. So now, alto over here, tweak the EQ just a little bit. the last third. Okay, there's our notes. Now, soprano. Now, I've tried all sorts of things over the years. I've tried just singing my normal voice and putting it up an octave. Always sounds squeaky. Always sounds like Kermit the Frog. I've tried singing it at pitch and then just tuning it. And again, it just really sounds tight. So I've come up just this year with a new method, which is really sneaky. Don't mind saying. But it works. So what I'm going to do, at the moment, it's transposed down a tone. So that would make the highest note a mere F. But my highest note, without doubt, is a D. And even then, it's a bit squeaky. So if I want to turn a G into a C sharp, that is down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to go -6. And I'm just going to record along with the organ and the harpsichord. I'm going to mute the rest of the voices. And this hopefully will make sense. Let's have a little listen to it. It will still feel high. It'll still have that high range because it is approaching the top of my register, but I'm going to record it a fourth down. It's still quite high. Okay, let's give it a go. Now that's going to bloom and clip, so I'm going to turn that down. Okay, here we go. That wasn't so good. Let's take a bigger breath before grief should now approach. Here we go. No, that's not what I want to sing. Grief should ne'er approach. Now, there was one bit I completely wimped out of, which I'm going to have to do to deal with Melodyne-wise. But now comes the fun bit, because I've recorded that all. I'm not going to play it all at once, because it's going to sound absolutely terrible. We know that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to add this marvellous bit of software called Melodyne. And what I'm going to have to do is, before we enjoy tweaking this, I'm going to have to play it all in. So I'm just going to do this and let it play from the beginning. And you're not going to hear anything. In fact, I need to just turn that off and that off. I need to put that back where it was. Back to -2, back to -2. And then I'm going to do that to not spoil the surprise. Here we go. Now, at this point, there was a catastrophic sound error in the recording, and what I was saying was completely lost in the maelstrom of the guide tracks playing. A shame, really, as I was sharing some of the most important and essential information I've ever shared online. Oh well, best skip ahead. This, as I say, is where the fun starts. If I go into Melodyne, which is this brilliant bit of software here, and open it up, you can see all the individual lines represented as blobs, which is fab. Now this Audio 4 is the soprano part, and just to make it really clear, I'm going to go in here, I'm just going to label it, which is good practice. I don't always do this, because I'm a bit lazy when it comes to these things, and no one sees these apart from me, generally. But there we go. Now, this was recorded much, much lower than the rest of the choir. This was recorded at -6, whereas everyone else was recorded at -2. So I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that is going to put it up. Does that put it at the right sort of pitch? It does, kind of. Kind of. You can even see where the top notes land. Now, because I want this to be a Baroque pitch, I'm actually going to select everyone. And I'm going to select the whole thing. I'm going to go click up 1. So now it's as if I recorded it as semitone higher, but of course now at Baroque pitch. If I put this at -1 instead of -2, and then hit play, fingers crossed, it should work. That note there, punish care, should be a soprano F sharp. Now we'll see, does this sound in any... Doesn't sound too bad, if I'm honest. The harpsichord and organ are too loud. In fact, the choir in general are too loud. So I'm going to knock them all back. And I'm going to add in now the magic ingredient, which comes down here, which you can't see because I'm in the way. So if I move this up, that's a little bit better. So now I'm going to add in something called the Space Designer. And the Space Designer allows me to set things up. I've got a preset called Homechoir Hall, which is what I generally use for our recordings, which is nice and spacious. It's a nice big echo on it. Now, the length is how long the echo lasts. The dry output is how much of the original recording we want to hear. 0 decibels means no cut to it at all. It's going to be nice and prominent, but with some reverb on it. If I turn the dry down, all you get is the reverb, so you get this sort of sound. As if it's a long way away. We don't want to overdo it, so I'm going to put quite a lot of dry on, maybe just knock off half a decibel, and have a bit of a tail, but not too much. I don't like that grief. Such a shame. What can I do about that? I can re-record that line. There's not much that you can do after you've recorded something so stark. There is, I suppose, let me see. Can I be really, really sneaky here? Can I steal the grief from someone else? Yeah, I rolled the R on a high note, which is just not a good plan. That is horrid. Okay, if I tune that... it's a nasty sound. It was too loud. So, no, that is just nasty. So what about if I steal... Right, I'm going to steal the flipped one. Okay, so I'm going to put that now in there. That's the alto grief. Get rid of that. And what happens if I put it... Hey, that might be better. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now let's just select everything, and this is way more than I'd normally do, but there's a macro here that allows me to just knock everything bang on, and to just sort out the pitch drift slightly. I'm not going to put too much on it, it just sounds robotic, and this is something I've learnt over the last 3 years. It really does show when you overdo the tuning, but now that alto line is now flat, so I'm going to you can see here where the little lines indicate the pitch direction, and now that the end of the note you can hear flares up, so I'm just going to cut it and just sort the pitch up, make that just not quite so stark. So now let's go back. Now there's grief should. Now that happens when you move notes from where they were to where they now are. You can see that little tail. Just listen to it. Grief should. Nasty. So what we're going to do, it's a little trick, just cut the end off, and that says it's a separate note. So now, already sounding better. Just let me tweak the beginning of that. So let's put everyone back in. Grief should ne'er. Vanish. That was under. Now, I wasn't able to hold one of those notes long. It was that soprano fair. There's a breath, so I'll get rid of that, and now I'm going to extend that note. It is going to make the vibrato, so I'm going to just clean that up and hide it behind the alto. So now, now that's the problem, because the soprano is supposed to come in early. So let's knock the alto off with everyone else. That's the problem, the alto's held on too long. Okay, and let's get rid of these breaths, we don't need to hear those. So here we go. Just tidy that up. There's a little wobble at the end of the alto line. Now, first time, have everyone finish at the same time. Just snip the end of the note off, and then tidy it up, and then again, just the end. There we go, and drag that down, then that's not going to be in the way. Here, we're just going to reduce the size of the vibrato at the end of the tenor, so it ends in a pure manner, and the bass just drops off the cliff. So let's have him finishing with everyone else. Yes, 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 very good. Okay, snip, snip. Just. Okay. That's not bad, you know. Now, I need to do a bit of balancing. At the moment, I think the bass could do with being a little bit quieter. I think the tenor could do with coming up a little bit. Soprano, we need to do some EQing, which is perhaps a little bit better. Soprano's been EQ'd at all, so that's why it sounds a bit weird. So Melodyne is good for now. Let's just listen to the sop on its own. Now, there's a lot of nasality in there because obviously I'm a countertenor. So let's turn the reverb down. Let's take some of the high out, boost some of the mid, cut some of the low. In fact, we can have a look here. Now, the nasality of a voice tends to be around about 2 to 3K. So I'm going to pull this down, and then I'm going to use this here, which is just going to take out some of the nasality. Let's have a little listen. Still sounds a bit squeaky, but you know, I'm a 46-year-old man. Okay, cool. Now, I don't like that harpsichord, so I'm going to add in an audio track. I'm going to play it in using my lovely keyboard here. Now, this is not... This is not the kind of instrument you can adjust once you've recorded it. And what I'm going to have to do in order for this to not overload the system is I'm going to do this, excuse me. And that is coming in like that. Now, what I'm going to have to do is go silent for a minute. So bear with me, 2 shakes. I'm going to go here. In order to hear the keyboard, I need to do this. So excuse me. Okay, I think we're safe. That was all to save your ears, ladies and gents. Now, let's pop that in. Let's mute the original harpsichord and see what we've got. Lovely. Now let's put in a bass part played on the organ. Now I usually use this Baroque organ. Of course everything's now transposed. If I hide that. But because I've already got the harpsichord in, do it right the way down there. Bass organ. So here we go. Omitting that, we're nearly done, I think. 3, 4, 1, 2. don't like that at the end, so I'm just going to get rid of that. Okay, so now we mix that. Let's put the organ back. A bit more bass, bit more mid, a bit less high, bit of reverb, and to knock it to the back. Turn the volume. Oh no, that's harpsichord. Yeah, actually, let's knock that back. Don't want too much of the high on that. And then this one, bit more of that, bit less volume. Okay, so this should be our choir track. Here we go. It's a funny kind of weird sound. I presume it's the harpsichord. Ah, yeah. Oh. Ha 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 ha. That explains. Okay. That's a shame. I can't use this because it's actually outputted the choir track onto the harpsichord track. So I'm going to have to do that separately when we're finished. So I'll put the original harpsichord in. It wasn't that bad. Okay, I wonder what that weird echo was. Okay, here we go. And there we are, ladies and gents. Quickly save it. I will re-record that harpsichord part in once I've stopped recording this, just because I'm not entirely happy with it. But for now, I think that is all she wrote. So that's how I do the Patchway Cathedral tracks for all of you. Some sneaky tricks which have developed over 3 years of recording these tracks. Some things, and you know, there's going to be some more tricks as we go, some more things I discover. Some more ways to make my now middle-aged male voice sound like a bright young soprano, or indeed a deep, deep bass, but everything in between as well. And I do hope you enjoyed it. So if you have, do remember to like, share and subscribe. And I'll see you soon. Bye, folks.